The 805 Focus is brought to you in part by Nonprofit Connect. Nonprofit Connect provides superior leadership tools and resources so nonprofit leaders and board members can make valuable decisions to move their organization forward to a sustainable and vibrant future. More information on services online at nonprofitconnect.org.
Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Sandra Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Dacia Harwood, and Dacia is Executive Director of the Santa Barbara Historical Museum. Thanks for being with us, Dacia.
Thanks so much for having me, Cinder.
Oh boy, you folks have been around a long time and you do really important work in our community, and I can hardly wait to hear all about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, actually the museum has been in existence since 1932.
32? Mm-hmm. Holy cow.
Yep, we've had a few homes here in town. In fact, actually our first home was at the Old Mission, Santa Barbara. Okay. We then moved into a little adobe in the 1950s on Montecito Street. We had an office for a time at the courthouse, and then since the 1960s, we've had our beautiful facility on De La Guerra.
On De La Guerra.
Downtown Santa Barbara.
Yeah, and you folks have a lot of events there too, right?
Absolutely. We host a lot of our own events, lectures, parties, screenings, you name it, and then we host quite a few rental events as well. So weddings and fundraisers of other organizations here in town.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of weddings. I haven't been to them, but I've seen them happening.
Absolutely.
As I drive down the street.
They're beautiful and important to our income, and just also a wonderful way for, you know, a young couple to become enamored in the museum and then care about us as well for the rest of their own lives. So it's a really fun way for, I think, people to start.
And it's a beautiful facility.
It is. It's gorgeous. The museum itself was actually built there in the 1960s, as I said, because there are two really incredible historic adobes on site. There's the Covarrubias adobe, which was built in 1817. It's one of the oldest Spanish-era homes here in Santa Barbara, along with our historic adobe. And so anyway, that's the reason that the wonderful museum facility was built in that location.
Can people tour those adobes?
They can, yeah. You can ask at our front desk. And we host quite a few events in our Covarrubias adobe. So smaller lectures and just fun experiences, wine tastings, all sorts of things.
So you have exhibits that are, maybe some are permanent and some come and go?
That's correct.
And then you have lectures. What all services do you?
Sure. So we have a couple of permanent exhibitions. The first is the Story of Santa Barbara, which takes our visitor from our beginnings as a community with the Chumash all the way to the modern day. And it includes things like Santa Barbara's obviously indigenous and Spanish, early American period, all the way into, you may have heard of the Flying A Studios, which was really the first Hollywood here in Santa Barbara around 1912, 1915, to the Santa Barbara School of the Arts, which really is responsible for the wonderful beginnings of the art community that we have here in Santa Barbara. That was in the 1920s, all the way through old Spanish days and everything in between. So yeah, a wonderful celebration of all things historic and a good way to find out a real overview of Santa Barbara history.
I wonder if the people involved in all the different arts organizations realize that they can see the exhibit about their sort of beginnings there at the museum.
Absolutely. So the Santa Barbara School of the Arts, it was such a wonderful story, and we've held special exhibitions about it as well. People may not know, but actually the Alacama Theater, which is preserved by the Trust for Historic Preservation, is part of the original School of the Arts. So I love to wander downtown and think about, you know, all of those beginnings. Our own Covarrubias adobe was actually used as part of the facility there as well. And there were incredible artists coming out of the Santa Barbara School of the Arts. Ed Boreen, many others. We have actually a permanent exhibition dedicated to Boreen. He was a wonderful and well-known Western artist. So, yeah.
How did you get interested in history like this?
Great question. I actually went to UCSB and was a history major.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, I'm really lucky to be, not only doing something in my field, but I have the absolute best job in the world.
It sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like it's perfect for you and for them.
It's great. And we are really lucky. We do quite a few seasonal exhibitions as well. And we usually change, 3 or 4 times a year. So we're wrapping up right now an exhibition called Lockwood to Forest, Lighting the Way. And we're also hosting an exhibition of Huguette Clark's artwork right now. And every summer we do an exhibition called Project Fiesta, a history of Old Spanish Days, in collaboration with Old Spanish Days Fiesta, which is a lot of fun, and many others. And I should mention that even though our exhibitions come and go, they're always filmed and you can experience them later on our website.
Really? Have you always done that?
We had to really change the way that we were operating during the pandemic, as you might imagine. And so that was really the time that we got most serious about filming everyone. But for the most part, you can experience quite a lot of our collection online. Including a lot of the objects that live in our vault underneath the museum, various remnants of Santa Barbara's past. We have hundreds of thousands of objects, and you can see quite a few of those online, separate from the exhibitions as well.
Gosh.
Always something to discover, Cinder.
Yeah, so that's really a benefit that came out of such a big challenge with the pandemic.
It really was. For us, we host a really popular lecture series at the museum. So one of the first things we did was switch to webinar format, and those have all been preserved and are able to be watched online. And now we're doing all of our lectures outdoors, making sure everyone feels comfortable. They're at the museum, usually with wine in hand.
That's important.
It is. And those are actually filmed in conjunction with TVSB, which is really wonderful. So they can be watched online or on Channel 17.
That is great. So a great example of a collaboration.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You collaborate with a lot of different organizations.
I'm sure hundreds at this point. We're really lucky to have so many great collaborations. In fact, one I believe you know about right now is the museum's Environmental Alliance.
Oh, yes. I want to hear about your part in that.
Sure. So all of the local museums and Botanic Garden and the zoo are collaborating this season, this spring, to bring attention to the issue of climate change. Everyone is doing their own theme, and we decided to actually do something fun, which is take a hike, save the world, and it focuses on our local trails and public lands, and really just inspires you to, turn off your lights, put down your device, and go and enjoy the outdoors here in beautiful Santa Barbara.
Oh, that sounds great. I love the idea that the pandemic, which was such a huge challenge, really brought all the people together, all the different museums together, and that everyone decided to focus on climate change, but you're all doing it in a way that is consistent with your mission.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's great. Take a hike, save the world.
Take a hike, save the world. Yep.
That's great.
So we have wonderful fine art and historic images really illustrating, all that Santa Barbara was in the very beginning and still is now, and just inspiring people to go and really treasure those wonderful open spaces and opportunities to be outside. But it has been a wonderful collaboration, I have to say.
Yeah.
And so very meaningful to me to have the support of all of the directors in Santa Barbara during that time. It was a real challenge, as you know. And so just a really great experience. I'm so thankful for the collaboration.
Well, and more of a challenge for most museums. I mean, all nonprofits had challenge from that, and many of them still do. But for the museums, at least most of them, it was even more of a challenge because you had to close your doors.
You bet.
People couldn't be inside.
We lose our visitors, which obviously is very important. We lose the ability to host our own events and our income streams. And for us, our rental events all had to be canceled. I believe we postponed 70 events.
70.
So we're still making up for last time right now. It's not unusual to see a couple getting married on a Thursday or a nonprofit event being hosted in our beautiful courtyard on a Monday or Tuesday right now. We're just all making up for lost time, but so glad to be back and open.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So what events do you have coming up, for example?
Sure, so great question. So we've got a lecture coming up this Wednesday, for example, on Santa Barbara's cultural renaissance of the 1920s. We host lectures about once a month at least. We'll be hosting the exhibition that I spoke of, or we'll be hosting the opening, I should say, that I spoke of. In June, we'll be hosting a talk about Old Spanish Days posters and the history of those. We host our annual fundraiser in July. It's called La Fiesta del Museo. Wonderful event with, elegant dinner and live flamenco and just under the stars of the museum, really beautiful. And then a full packed schedule of things like guided hikes and lectures and film screenings going into the fall. So just the best place to look is on our website. Not unusual for us to have at least one event per week. So take a look at that.
You folks are busy.
We are busy. It's great though.
So, and you're a 501c3
We
nonprofit.
are.
So while a person is on your website looking to see what events are coming up and what they can look at virtually, they could look for your Donate Now button and make a financial contribution.
They absolutely can. Those are always tax deductible. And I should mention that many choose to support us by becoming members of the museum. Membership starts as low as $50 and is incredibly important to not only for our support, but to build our historical communities. So we really encourage people to join as well.
And they can get on the website and
You bet.
sign up
Join
as a
online.
member.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you probably have a Facebook page. And
We do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. We do all of that. We've got an active YouTube page, as you might imagine, with all of our lectures that have been filmed in the past. So yes, please do look for us on social media. And we share quite a few of our unseen items, if you will, on our social media channels as well. And so that's always fun. Images, for example, from our research library and artifacts that maybe wouldn't make it into an exhibition because it doesn't fit a particular theme. We love to share everything that we have. So from the most unusual to the most incredible pieces of art from Santa Barbara's history.
gosh. So what about volunteers? Do you use volunteers?
Yeah, great question. We do. We use volunteers quite a few of them actually at our events. We have a docent program to give tours, of course, and in our library we have quite a few volunteers that come in and help our clients who are researching perhaps their families or their property, that help in our library as well. So yeah, quite a few opportunities.
And so they can find that out on the website as well.
They can. Yeah, the best thing is to reach out to us and let us know what you're interested in, and we'll help find a good fit.
And then you probably provide training, especially for docents, I would imagine.
Of course, yes, absolutely. We do. So, and of all ages actually as well. We're always looking for bilingual docents, for example. It's just really important to really illuminate all of the stories of Santa Barbara. We love the voices of our volunteers, so it's really important.
And did I hear you say that a person can visit the museum for free these days?
That's correct. Entrance is currently free, and you can actually visit. You can actually feel as though you're visiting, I should say. We've got a new app where you can actually take a virtual tour of the museum itself, or you can come in and do a self-guided audio tour as well. During the pandemic, we actually created an audio guide, which is really fun, and that can be enjoyed either in our galleries or from home.
That is fascinating. And so I bet you have a story or two you could share with us.
Great question. So I would just say that, most recently I was walking through our Gledhill Library. It's our wonderful research library on site. And I overheard the excitement of a family who was seeing photos of their grandparents and, reading about the things that they had done in Santa Barbara. And they just had no idea that we had collected this kind of material. And that's every week for me. There's always something to discover, and it's so fun to see people really find the personal connections, if it's to their families or their property or just something that they've seen as they walk down, State Street, that they're understanding the deeper meaning of. It's just so much fun.
Yeah. So do you work with the schools at all?
We do.
Education?
So we host school groups, of course, in person whenever we can. When the pandemic started, the first thing that we did was actually film all of our docent-led lessons, and we actually started to do a Zoom experience with the classrooms. So that's an opportunity as well. In fact, my own third grader actually did the Zoom experience, which was actually really fun for them. And they got to go on a secret tour. They got to see some things that our other guests don't get to do. And it was fun for our education manager and our docents to interface with the kids. But we love having them in person, the most.
That is great. Well, it sounds like you folks really pivoted, the new word that we're using, we've been using for a while, pivoted in a really miraculous way.
We did. We're really lucky. Our new word is hybrid, which
Yeah.
is, that combination of getting everybody back in the door, but also doing what we can to connect with everybody at home. I think that the pandemic in a lot of ways really actually broadened our support base and certainly broadened our audience. Our Zoom talks, which we hosted over 30 of them, have been seen by as many as 1,000 people at a time, and often in all
gosh.
areas of the world. So that's been really extraordinary.
Yeah, so a person could be anywhere. They don't.
You bet.
I mean, geography is no longer a barrier.
It is not. It is not. And I think there's so many people that Santa Barbara is so special to them. They
Yes.
grew up here, they visited, they fell in love with our city at some point. And so for you to be anywhere in the world and be able to chime in for something like that, it's been a lot of fun. And you could do it in real time or you could watch it later, but we like to do them in real time and then take those real
Yeah.
questions as well
Sure.
at the time. So we've had some wonderful speakers. It's been a lot of fun.
So give me some examples of some of the lectures that you've had.
Sure. So one of the most popular was actually about train depots, historic train depots going up the coast. That was by Jean-Guy Dubé, who is an architect here in town, and he's just extraordinary, has this extraordinary knowledge of all things railroad history.
Oh.
That was tremendously popular. And we hosted a talk about the museum's saddle collection, which was given by Tom Peterson from the Carriage Museum, another great collaborator, along with Bill Reynolds, who's actually the museum's president and a well-known expert on all things Western. So anyway, those were two of my recent favorites. So we've hosted, every topic you can possibly imagine related to Santa Barbara history. So it's been a lot of fun.
What about exhibits? What have been some of the either most unusual ones or most popular ones?
Sure. Well, actually, I would say most recently we had a wonderful exhibition that was curated by Marlena Miller, who is our Edward Boreen collection curator, and it was called Edward Boreen and His Circle of Friends, and it included some absolutely incredible artwork from people like Charlie Russell, and just really brought it all home, the amazing circle that this particular artist had here, not only in Santa Barbara, but around the country. So, and then very recently we opened up our exhibition, which is Huguette Marcel Clark, A Portrait of the Artist. That has been tremendously popular, and our guests have really had fun realizing that not only was this woman very intriguing, but she was really an incredible and talented artist and more involved in Santa Barbara than you might expect. We actually found during our own research that Huguette, not only did she spend time right next to the museum at the Meridian Studios, but she also participated in an art show at the Faulkner Gallery, for example, right after she hosted an exhibition in Paris. So just kind of fun, those little discoveries to find out just how involved someone was when you just go into it not really realizing that. So anyway.
Golly. So do you think that most communities have such a well-developed historical museum as we have here in Santa Barbara?
I don't know how to compare that to other places, but it's always fun to visit other areas and really see some of those things. I will say that we have things like every brochure from 98 years of Fiesta history, and I recently was at a museum in Spain and actually saw one of the brochures including some performers from the 1960s about our Fiesta. So I think it's always fun to see those connections across the world. Santa Barbara is certainly an internationally known city. And so it's a good question.
Gosh. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left. What else would you like our audience to know about the Santa Barbara Historical Museum?
I think they should just come and visit. We're 2 blocks from State Street in downtown, very accessible. We're open on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays right now. And we're actually open later on Thursday nights, so that's kind of fun.
Oh, that's good.
So if you're out on any Thursday, you can come until 7. If you're out for First Thursday, it's a great stop. And the best thing to do is check our website for upcoming events, not only the programming events that the museum hosts, but we like to share other community events that are happening there as well.
Oh, that's good.
We just like to be a really active participant in not only in our city, but in downtown. And we can always use the support of the community, either by becoming a member or making a donation or just thinking of us for your next gathering.
That is great. Oh, right. And they can go, once again, on the website and find out all about how to do that.
Absolutely. Right there at sbhistorical.org.
Yeah. Oh, Dacia, thank you so
You're
much
so
for this
welcome.
important work. that you're doing in our community. I hope a lot more people come and visit.
Thank you. Thank you. We feel very busy lately, so it's been great. So please do come and visit and come and check out what we're doing, and try to come every few months so you don't miss anything.
Oh, that's a good idea. So don't miss one of those new exhibits.
Absolutely.
Or a lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And thanks for being on our show to share your wonderful story with us.
Thank you so much for having me. We really appreciate it.
And thanks for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.